I was dating a man who I really liked. Probably the first man I really liked, not just infatuated, thought looked good, whatever. I liked him. But I made this very strange internal rule that I would never be the one to reach out. I had this rule. If he wants to talk to you, he'll find a way to talk to you. No matter how busy he is, he'll respond to you when he's interested in speaking to you. So whether or not I wanted communication, I would not reach out. I would respond quickly and enthusiastically, but I would never reach out. Now, first of all, that's a game right there. I'm saying I'm not being manipulative. Yes, I was, but we're going to put that to the side. So because he didn't live near me, we would usually start talking, say Wednesday. If I was coming up, he was coming down to see me, right? We would kind of go through this exchange. And if it didn't come Wednesday, I would automatically start to be like defensive, thinking the worst, allowing the acorn to grow into an oak forest, feeling like I better shut her up because I better put my armor on because he's getting ready to either ghost or he's getting ready to abandon ship or he found somebody better, you know. So I'm like painting all these worst case scenarios in my mind instead of texting him and being like, are we on for this weekend? Like I couldn't do that. I wasn't in that place. So I realized that interaction and my waiting I was petrified, and it's tied to my feeling of abandonment. That the minute I start to let myself like him, I'll never hear from him again. Welcome to Body of Truth. I'm Rebecca Windsor. Body of Truth was born when my marriage melted to the ground. I needed to completely restart my life. And I found that in order to make major changes and make them stick, I needed to not just process and really start to listen to my inner voice and intuition, but I needed to allow the new habits that I wanted to form take root through my physical body, to have a muscle memory created through habit so that I was actually creating a new physical reality for me to exist in, a brand new paradigm. This is all in an effort to be free, and I want that for you too. I want you to start to listen to your own intuition and your own inner voice and start maybe a self-inquiry of your own. So I wanted to touch today on how a couple of techniques I use to identify the lies that we tell ourselves. You can call it a story, you can call it a lie, and I would suggest that you make an effort to distill it down to 5, 7 at the most, of the things that are triggered when you stumble upon a trigger, what that trigger really is activating in you. Because once they are identified, the identification of them, first of all, will take the sting out of the emotional part of the trigger. And I'm going to link below to the video in which I talked to you about a technique of separating your feelings from the facts of the situation so you can make a decision of action to move forward that's not completely controlled just by your feelings or your reaction in a state of trigger. So I really wanted to fill in the pieces of how you start to identify your core lies, because without that, you will continue to hit the same blocks. You will continue to make the same mistakes, and you will not be able to anchor your changes in your life because you're repeating an old energy pattern. So I just kind of summarize my anecdote of how I was able to, the first step is when you are triggered, think about where that's coming from. And that's going to take a process. Like we are trained not to look at our triggers. We are trained to react in the moment, maybe regret what we said. Maybe we go to rage. Maybe we go to sorrow. Maybe we just armor up and shut down. But what I'm saying is try to at least quickly take note when you are triggered. And so I would take inventory of some of your earliest memories, because these are probably things not only that you may be carrying around that were inadvertently or advertently given to you by the way you grew up, or they might even be ancestral. This is all your mother knew, so this is what she gave you. Not that she didn't want the best for you, but she didn't know any better. Most parents really do attempt to do the best for their kids, and they are woefully unprepared. And I think as parents, what we try to do is try to minimize their mistakes. Of course, you're going to make new ones, and bring forth the gifts that they gave you and carry those forward. So if you can identify a story or a point of time in your life where you felt a shift, it's not easy and it will take practice to go back there. For me, I remember being very young and having my mother yell at my father through the window. And what that did for me is it took the very solid foundation of mommy and daddy knowing everything, being in accordance, very loving, very supportive. It meant that my security, my solid foundation broke apart. The people I was supposed to count on the most for always being there were no longer standing on solid ground. Everything was fractured. Now, this, of course, was inadvertent. But what I carried with me from that was the feeling that if you really rely on someone and open yourself, they are going to leave. Now, my father didn't leave us. I'm just saying that's the emotional wound that I have carried. And what happens is, because we don't look at, we were too young to have really like memories that we could analyze or behaviors we could change. It's so deep inside that it's hard to identify. It's not easy. And don't think that you can sit down with like a, what really makes me sad? What's a traumatic childhood memory? It's going to be a process, and you need to be patient and gentle with yourself as you do it. But when you are able to identify it, you will be very surprised how many modern day triggers trigger right back to that feeling of abandonment. If I tell them the honest truth, the whole truth, and don't omit anything, they might leave. They might not love me. They might not approve of me. They might ostracize me in whatever, like your work life, your home life, your intimate life, your dating life, whatever form this comes in, that's the risk, right? And so your child inside's like, oh, fuck no, I'm not doing that. Fuck that. Wait for his call. Wait for his invitation, and you could answer, but don't put your hand out. He might not show up. So that's where I ask you to start. Look back, see if there's something that you can, and it may not be when you're a young child, it may just be an event that left a mark. And so I have no problem sharing a couple of my core lies and how they showed up. So I also had this lie of helplessness, that I was shy, and that I really relied on, my bold sister to, in fact, my sister's 4 years younger than me. She used to buy me beer because she would do it with such aplomb. No one would ever fucking ask her for an ID. And when I was 6 months shy of my birthday, I'd be carded because I just felt like I needed someone to help me. I can't do it. I can't do it myself. And so what did I do in my marriage? I treated my ex as not a father figure, but he definitely needed to figure everything out. He was the big decision maker. I don't know how to read the fine print. I don't want to read the mortgage. So I abdicated being his partner to being a helpless maiden in the tower. And that comes from me feeling shy, feeling I can't do it, relying on others, and others in my family that love me stepping up to do it for me. So I figured I'm not capable. I can't do it. So you can imagine when my marriage ended, I was like, I'm not going to make it. And then I did. So now I'm able to identify that helpless trigger and be like, and use that technique of the video that I'm going to link to, of separating my facts from my feelings and saying, Is this a triggered behavior that points to your past? Or is there a real new fresh trauma happening here? And it will move you towards a place where if you can shift the traumatic energy in your body, you will make dramatic changes manifest in your outer life. Let me explain what I mean by that. Trauma is stored energetically in your body. And when you are triggered by an event, you literally, your body is physiologically reliving that trauma, no matter when it happened. That's a form of what PTSD is. Your physical body is back when the event occurred that inflicted the trauma. And the only way to affect real change is to literally physically shift the energy. And as we move forward, I'm going to give you techniques that I use to start to physically shift this energy. But just noticing where the triggers are and being able to identify where the root of them are is huge. It's more than half the battle. And then being able to handle that trauma with care and start to manipulate those feelings inside, that's something I hope to bring to you as well. And that is the work that I currently do on myself daily. And it's why I always ask you, as I pose these questions to you, what comes up in your body? Where is it in your body? Do you feel, I often feel a tightness in my chest, like a literal physical, not heart attack feeling, but like literally that it's being constricted. So that means, what am I not saying? What am I not letting flow? What don't I trust? And where is that mistrust coming from? It gives you a place to start. And that's what I hope to do here with you and alongside you, because it is a never-ending process, but it is so rewarding. I hope this was helpful. If you found it helpful, subscribe or share this video with someone that you think would benefit. I have a weekly newsletter that you can click the link below to opt in for. But more than that, I have something so exciting in the works. So subscribe so that you won't miss when I get to launch and share it with you. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be extremely beneficial and be like a tool that will help you kind of create shortcuts in these types of techniques that I talk about. So make sure you stay tuned as this grows. I want you to grow with me and leave a comment, ask a question. The dialogue is so important. It's how we can all start to help each other heal. And I upload every day, and I will see you tomorrow.